So, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me, for having us, dear Mark, Ambassador, dear colleague Roderich, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. It's always great as a Northerner to be in Bavaria, but it's my face as a foreign minister to be abroad. And in a way, it's same feeling here. But if you want to know Russia's actions, listen to what it accuses others of. A couple of years ago, we all got used to a constant Russia lament about supposed Western plots on influence Russian society. In reality, of course, it is Russia that is spending millions of dollars subverting democratic processes around the world. Later, when the Russian regime was trying to justify its invasion of Ukraine, it alleged a systematic oppression of Russian speakers in the Donbass. In reality, of course, it is Russia that is today trying to erase the Ukrainian language and the cultural identity in the territories that it occupies in Ukraine. What can we learn from this? First, that a behavioral pattern like this is often referred as a projection in psychology. And second, that when Putin tells Russian media his country is not planning to fight European countries, but if Europe were to start a war, he is, and I quote, ready right now. We should all be worried indeed. Because Russian hybrid actions are already targeting us in Europe as we speak. Parcels sent to German logistic hubs that go up in flames. Spy drones hovering over airports and Bundeswehr barracks. Cyber attacks against keynotes of our civilian infrastructure. These actions are calling for an adequate response. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, it is not a matter of choice that the harsh logic of military deterrence is the main strategic imperative of our time. It is a matter of fact. I am glad in this day and age it is you, dear Mark, whose leadership we count on both sides of the Atlantic. And I'm glad that we agreed at our summit in The Hague to a new defense investment pledge of 5%. Germany will meet our new spending target well before the 2035 deadline. This year alone, as many of you know, Germany made relevant steps toward facing up our geopolitical reality. In March, we adapted our constitution to allow for more adequate military spending. Last week, the Bundestag passed a reform of our conscription law. And more importantly, this year, Germany has also become Ukraine's biggest supporter in terms of both military and non-military assistance. At last week's NATO foreign ministers meeting, together with Norway, Poland and the Netherlands, dear Mark, we announced financing for 2 additional packages of acquisitions under the prioritized Ukraine requirements list, bringing our total contribution to $700 million. But I also want to say this: more allies in Europe need to urgently step up. We are grateful for the United States' efforts in pursuing a lasting peace in Ukraine. Relevant progress has been made with crucial Ukrainian and European involvement. in sketching out key principles for this. This includes, in particular, securing an end to the war that leaves Ukraine sovereign, independent, and secure from future Russian aggression. Ukraine has shown remarkable flexibility, most importantly, an openness towards an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. But we are yet to see any meaningful Russian readiness to negotiate. The Russian position today seems to almost boil down to, if we don't get for free what we couldn't get during 11 years of fighting, we won't even talk. That is not a serious negotiation position. But it is a potent reminder that this war will probably only end when Putin feels that the consequences of continuing it having become too painful. To get there are, in my view, two things that we, as European allies, need to do. First, we need to increase the pressure on Russia. We need to let Russia know that the costs, especially the long-term costs of continuing its senseless war, are only about to rise. Leveraging Russia's frozen sovereign assets in Ukraine, as proposed by German Chancellor Merz, is a necessary step towards that end. But secondly, and even more importantly, we need to maintain cohesion within NATO. For what sets us apart from Russia is this: we say what we do what we say, and we stand on the side of freedom. And as free countries, the differences in political outlook that will ever cease to exist between us should never drive us apart. For they are first and foremost this, an important source of our strength. I thank you, and I look now forward to hearing you, dear Mark, the Secretary General of NATO. Thank you so much.
Well, dear Johan, dear Detlef, dear Wolfgang, good afternoon, and of course, good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for the warm welcome. It is always good to be in Berlin. Just over 36 years ago, on a now famous night in November, NATO Secretary General Manfred Wörner jumped in his car and drove through the night to Berlin. In the rush, he forgot to tell his staff in Brussels where he was going. Manfred was heading home to Germany to join the crowds celebrating the fall of the Berlin Wall. Today, a section of the wall stands at NATO headquarters. It was a barrier to keep people in and ideas out. And now it is a monument to the force of freedom, a reminder of the power of unity, and a lesson that we must stay strong, confident, and steadfast. Because the dark forces of oppression are on the march again. I'm here today to tell you where NATO stands and what we must do to stop a war before it starts. And to do that, we need to be crystal clear about the threat. We are Russia's next target. And we are already in harm's way. When I became NATO Secretary General last year, I warned that what is happening in Ukraine could happen to allied countries too. That we had to shift to a wartime mindset. This year we took the big decisions to make NATO stronger. At the summit in The Hague, allies agreed to invest 5% of GDP annually in defense by 2035. We agreed to increase defense production across the alliance. And we agreed to continue our support to Ukraine. But this is not the time for self-congratulation. I fear that too many